Obviously, we have the press conference that just took place where they announced they told the preliminary investigations, they showed their work, they announced what the actual charges were for Tyler
approximately 15 minutes
Robinson,
into
and
the
that's
event,
still going on.
Mr. Kirk
You know
was
what?
answering a question about mass shootings by transgender
We'll get to that in a
individuals
second.
when a gunshot rang
Actually, you know
out.
what? Fuck it. Let's just
The
dive
bullet
right into it.
struck Mr. Kirk in the
No
neck.
personal news,
He
chat.
slumped to the ground almost immediately. The bullet's trajectory passed closely to several other individuals beside Mr. Kirk, including
this
the
chat
questioner
deserved the
who
live
was
stream
standing
broadcast of the
directly in
special
front of
report.
Mr. Kirk. Children were visible near Mr. Kirk's stage when he was shot. Mr. Kirk was rushed
we got
to a nearby
genocide coverage
hospital
today as well.
where
Don't
he was
worry.
declared deceased. The medical examiner's report is still pending.
Some of the news perverts are going to freak out.
Surveillance. So at the moment of the shot, a UVU police officer was watching the crowd from an elevated vantage point. As soon as he heard the shot, he began to scan the area for threats. Believing the shot came from a rifle because of its sound, he looked for potential sniper positions. He noted a roof area approximately 160 yards away from Mr. Kirk as a potential shooting position and rushed there to look for evidence. The suspected shooting position is adjacent to an open, publicly accessible walkway. To access the suspected location, a person must climb over a railing and then drop to the roof only slightly below. The UV officer climbed over the railing and down onto the roof. He then walked to the suspected shooting position and confirmed a clear shooting corridor between the position and Mr. Kirk's seat. He also noticed markings in the gravel rooftop, consistent with a sniper having lain on the roof, impressions in the gravel potentially left by the elbows, knees, and feet of a person in a prone shooting position. Police reviewed surveillance from the camera covering the roof and discovered that it recorded an individual dressed in dark clothing cross the railing from the public walkway and drop onto the roof at approximately 12:15 p.m.
Right.
Although the individual moved out of the camera's view for a short time, the camera again captured the individual running across the roof and then low crawling to the area the UVU officer recognized as where the suspected sniper had dropped into a prone shooting position.
Bro? Where's the gun?
After a short time, which matches the known time of the shot, the individual arose and ran across the roof to the northeast. This discovery led to an intensive review of UVU surveillance recordings to attempt to track and identify the suspect.
Why the early tweet? What the hell? No, I'm just going right into it.
The following. At approximately 11:51 a.m., the suspect entered campus from the north.
Other
he is seen
pieces
wearing
of
a
footage.
black shirt with an American flag
They are
in the
not.
center.
Do they have more camera footage that they're just not revealing? I don't understand this part.
Throughout the surveillance, the suspect keeps his head
Why are you
down
live so early today? This is
rarely
when I'm live.
raises his head enough to get a clear image of his face. As he proceeds across the campus, he is seen walking with an unusual gait. The suspect walks with very little bending in his right leg, consistent with a rifle being hidden in his pants.
What?
This unusual gait
How
continues
is he bending
until
then?
the suspect is
How
seen
is he bending
crossing
here
the
then?
railway off the open walkway and onto the roof.
How is he bending his leg then?
View.
That makes no sense.
A camera later captures the suspect as he runs across the roof to the suspected shooting position. Immediately after the shot was fired, a camera captures the suspect running across the roof carrying an item whose shape is consistent with a rifle. The suspect is then seen climbing down from the roof. He appears to drop the item he was carrying as he hits the ground in a controlled fall. He then picks up the item and runs toward the northeast end of campus. Expanded crime scene investigation. Law enforcement officers followed the suspect's escape path to the northeast end of campus. where they believe the suspect left campus and entered a wooded area. In that wooded area, investigators found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel. The rifle contained 1 spent round and 3 unspent rounds. This is consistent with the facts officers observed at the time of and immediately after the shootings. No shell casings were found on the roof, suggesting a bolt action rather than an auto-loading weapon, and only a single round was fired. Each round in the rifle contained an etched inscription as follows. The fired cartridge was etched, no Tysus
When he was bringing
bulge,
it up secret style, it was wrapped in his pants. After he
yes.
was running away with it, it was
The
wrapped in a
second
towel.
cartridge.
Still doesn't make sense how it was in his pants, though.
That was, again, not spent. The last 3 were not spent, were not fired.
Notices your
The
bulge,
second,
ooh,
hey
ooh,
fascist,
and also
catch with arrow symbols. The third cartridge, oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow. The fourth cartridge, if you read this, you are gay, LMAO. The rifle, ammunition rounds, and towel
You
were
could
sent
go to
for
jail if
forensic
you laugh at that.
processing. DNA consistent with defendant was found on the trigger, other parts of the rifle.
I guess we're all gay now.
The fired
Maybe he
cartridge
was
casing,
woke.
2 of the 3
He made
unfired
everybody gay.
cartridges,
It's like when
and
I
the
trick you
towel.
into reading the Shahada.
Law enforcement was unable to immediately locate the shooter, so they published photos of the shooter from the UVU surveillance cameras and asked for the public's help to identify him. Meanwhile, law enforcement continued to try to identify the shooter through other means. The Washington County investigation. On the evening of September 11th, 2025, as law enforcement continued their investigation, Tyler James Robinson went to the Washington County Sheriff's Office with his parents and a family friend to turn himself in. Robinson's mother stated that the following to police. On September 11th, 2025, the day after the shooting, Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought the shooter looked like her son. Robinson's mother called her son and asked him where he was. He said he was at home sick and that he had also been at home homesick on September 10th. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspect shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed. Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed
Is it really
that
illegal
it looked
to
like
laugh?
their
I don't know
son.
anymore. No, man, I'm
He
joking.
also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father
This guy was a gamer
contacted
from
his
Utah,
son
not
and
left
asked
wing.
him to
I
send
can
a
see him
photo of
being
the
woke,
rifle.
man. I don't know.
Robinson did not respond.
Guys, you have to remember something. Like, yeah, this guy killed somebody, but like for the way that like American politics works nowadays, when you're just like, I don't think we should actually assassinate gay people broadly, or like, I don't think we should kill trans people, that's considered woke. Okay. So that's a pretty wide spectrum of people that you could consider woke. So in that regard, yes, if woke means you demonstrate like basic humanity, right? Even though this person did something that's obviously a severe violation of the social contract, inhumane, right? Ended someone's life. Like when they're talking about woke, they just mean like person who doesn't want to literally fucking lynch random people that don't look like them. That's it. That's what they're talking about. So yes, by that standard, pretty much everybody's kind of fucking woke.
To police and reported telling Robinson that it would be best if he brought all evidence with him to the sheriff's office to avoid police having to search his parents' home. The friend also asked Robinson if he had any clothes that
Talk
were
to an actual ex-Mormon leftist who can explain this to you. None of this is confusing to me. No,
that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas.
I'm one of the only people on the internet on the left that didn't immediately run to the. This is definitely a Groyper narrative.
Mel, who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting. And
like when I say this guy was woke, by the way, I don't mean he's like a fucking card-carrying Antifa DSA guy. I just mean he doesn't think trans people should be killed. Okay? That's what I mean. Like, make no mistake, their assessment of quote-unquote woke is so expansive that it fits the narrative for every single human being pretty much, okay? I just didn't run with the he's definitely a Groyper stuff. You know what I mean?
Found a photograph of this
but we still don't know. I'll make the assessment in a little bit.
Text exchange then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. Roommate, you weren't the one who did it, right? Robinson,
Tyler Robinson was a bit of an L roommate, not gonna lie.
Roommate, I thought they caught the person. Robinson, no, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle. He's
literally
from my
talking about the
point
incompetence of the
after,
cops.
But most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence.
Low-key, he's not wrong. Like, if you grab the rifle...
Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Roommate, how long have you been planning this? Robinson, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it.
This is giving real Hamas fighters on the radio
Robinson
recordings released by Israel.
I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. IDEK if it's had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The F in messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notice bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke all right. I'm going to have to leave it. That really effing sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine, IDK. I think that was a $2K scope. Wink, wink. Robinson again, delete this exchange. Again, Robinson, my dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what? The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me, RN, not answering. Robinson, since Trump got into
we do have a
office,
crisis in violence in this country, but honestly, we have a crisis in literacy too. Like, this is a 4.0 GPA kid. And even then, he was so fried where he was just like consistently communicating in memes, dude. How is that possible? Like, I've seen like white supremacist school shooters who literally write manifestos, and you look at it and you're like, oh my God, this is not the major point, but like, I cannot comprehend how bad you are at fucking writing something legible. But this guy is not like that. He's like a 4.0 guy. What the fuck?
the search for Robinson's residence. Police executed a search warrant on Robinson's residence. During that search, police discovered a shell casing with etchings like the etchings found on the shells in the rifle.
I guess he's
near
just like, this is him
UVU.
just doing
Police also
comms
found
with
several
a friend
target boards
or a
with bullet
possible
holes
lover or
in
something. I don't
Robinson's
know.
home. Now, as I stated in the beginning, when I read those allegations, these are allegations. And like the evidence set forth in this statement, those allegations, what you've heard from the media, even from state and federal officials, has not been tested in the crucible of a jury trial. I understand the public's desire to know the facts. My own family members have pressed me for information. Why are we reluctant to share the details of the investigation itself and comment on the case? Because I want to ensure a fair and impartial trial. I became a prosecutor because of my love for the ideals of this great country and the principles embedded in our Constitution. The free exchange of ideas and opinions is critical to this great American experiment, but so too are the protections afforded to the accused found in the Fifth and Sixth Amendments. The right against self-incrimination, the right to a speedy and public trial, the right to the effective assistance of counsel, the right to confront one's accusers, and the right to compel the attendance of witnesses. And perhaps most importantly, under our Constitution, the accused is presumed innocent until we, the state, prove to an impartial jury of defendant's peers his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. That jury cannot rely on our allegations, on what they hear in the news, or on what they hear from a public official. The jury is the sole trier of fact, and they will ultimately determine those facts based on evidence a trial judge has determined is admissible. Again, as prosecutors, we bear the burden to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But make no mistake, we welcome this burden. I'd like to now introduce my trial team.
Bro, they flubbed this investigation big time with Cash Patel too.
This is a veteran and expert team. Of
I
some
do
of the
feel like
state's
a competent defense attorney will make mincemeat out of a lot of the process discovery.
One of my two chief deputies, Ryan McBride.
If the jury is boomer, he may walk. Well, I think they're fearful of having like a. This is one of the few instances where you got like a bunch of Mormons in this jury. They're not. I don't know how they're gonna feel about like a young Mormon with an incredible future ahead of him, like cut short by an act of vengeance or something. Like, I don't know. We'll see.
Prosecutors.
Because, like, yeah, there's a lot of people on TikTok that are, he's going to jail regardless, yes. But there's a lot of people on TikTok that are just, like, talking about, like, you've done it. You really pissed us off now or some shit like that. But I'm not so certain that, like, everyone is as hopped up on the Charlie Kirk was our MLK shit that you see online.
Of the criminal information are merely the first steps in the criminal justice process. Today at 3 p.m., the defendant will appear
dude,
before
it's
a
the same
judge in the
tribalism
Utah
that you
4th
saw from
District
the right
Court
when they
for his
recognized that
first
this
appearance
wasn't like
to be
the
informed of
normal
these
profile
charges
of like a
and to
septum
ensure that
ring
he has an attorney to
wearing
represent him.
you know,
The hearing will be
transgender
brief.
Antifa
The
guy
judge will
when they were like,
conduct
what the
that first
fuck? He's from a good
appearance
family. Oh no. And then they
virtually via WebEx.
significantly
This is
de-escalated their
not
rhetoric.
unusual.
Like that's
In
the
the
same
4th
mentality
District,
you will hear from
all
a
felony
local
first
boomer
appearances
jury
for
in
defendants who are
Utah.
in custody are held virtually.
Like
A
if he
link
was
to that
brown, it's the
hearing is
death penalty
available
for
for
sure,
media
right?
on the
Do you
Utah
understand what I
State
mean?
Court's X account.
If he's
at
brown, it's
Utah
the death
State
penalty for
Courts.
sure. If he's
Now,
trans, it's the death
following
penalty for sure. It's the
defendant's
death penalty
first
for all
appearance,
trans after
He
that.
will be entitled to a preliminary hearing. At that hearing, the state will be required to show probable
You're
cause
sleeping on the anti-gay
the
hate in Mormon
defendant
world?
committed
No,
the
for sure.
crimes.
They look at him
The
as like,
purpose of the preliminary hearing
I don't
is
know.
not
I don't
to
know.
determine
I don't
guilt,
know like the mindset of like
simply to
boomer
assure the
Mormons enough,
court
but
that the
I can totally
prosecution
see them
has enough
looking at the
evidence to
situation and being
proceed
like,
to
he was led
trial.
astray by evil, you know?
If a judge
But-
finds probable cause,
but, you know, he can
binds the
still be,
case over for trial, an
He can still
arraignment
find
hearing
salvation.
will
I don't
be
know. Do
held.
Mormons do that
At
stuff?
that hearing, a judge will again inform defendant of the charges against him and require him to enter a plea to each charge. The next step following the
I
arraignment
feel
is
like
an
everybody does
opportunity
that stuff.
for
You
the
know what I
parties
mean?
to
Like that's
file
just like a
any
very
relevant
American
motions
analysis of
and then
Christianity. No
ultimately
matter
the
what
trial
like
itself.
sect you find yourself
This
in, I feel like a
case
lot
has
of Americans have
generated
that
a
narrative.
tremendous amount of interest across our nation.
The messages
and
just
even the
revealed that the
world.
roommate slash
The
girlfriend had
public's
no idea what was
desire
going
for
on.
Information
Yeah.
is understandable, but it bears reiterating that this
And
case
also
will be
cooperated with the
tried in a
authorities
court of law
instantly.
consistent with our Constitution, not the court of public opinion. Thus, we will only discuss the case with the press occasionally. It will not be a day-to-day or even week-to-week occurrence, but we will only do so in a manner as not to jeopardize the fair trial process. Before I conclude, I want to express my appreciation for the tireless work of our local, state, and federal law enforcement officers. They have an extremely difficult, dangerous, and often thankless job. I'm proud to acknowledge the exceptional work they do every day, and particularly their work on this case. It was truly a marvel to witness. Their skilled work and dedication have brought us to this point.
Enough.
I'm also
Enough. The dude's dad fucking gave him up. You didn't do anything. Bro, these guys literally make it seem like they did Minority Report every time, bro. Dude, so much of like the FBI's terror apprehension unironically is just like getting some autistic 17-year-old Muslim kid online to be like, hey, want to find some Tenorite at this drop site, and then catching them and being like, we thwarted yet another insane Islamic terrorism incident, right? Like it's just like, and it's the same here. They literally didn't do shit, bro. They didn't do dick. They barely found like 3 photos of the dude, of the potential suspect, walking up the goddamn stairs to be like, we did it. We did it, boys. I don't understand.
And just really fast, if you could identify yourself and what organization.
From CBS, thank you.
Okay.
Free Israel, though, for real? Yeah, free Israel from Zionism.
In advance.
They are still looking into it. It's an undergoing investigation.
So is that a possibility?
They haven't ruled that out.
County Attorney Gray.
Ed Lavendera with CNN, the text message that you exchanged with the roommate, can you kind of give us a sense of, did that happen over several hours?
They were looking in the bushes. Yes,
I don't
that's
have
true.
that
They did.
information.
They did look in the bushes and they found the fucking weapon. That's true. They did do that.
To the death penalty independently. Did you hear it all from the Trump administration or Governor Cox's administration?
Just realize how fucking scary the repercussions would be if, for example, he was in your Discord server or was a fan of yours. Like, people would just use that to be like, oh, Hasan's radicalizing young men into killing people. Yes, 100% they would do that. They're already doing that. They've been saying that regardless of the shooter's profile. It's been interesting because, like, one, I was one of the only fucking left commentary people that just straight up immediately said, I don't think this dude's a groyper. I explained the background of why people think he's a groyper, but I said, I don't think he's a groyper. I think he's just like somewhat of an apolitical guy that is like liberal adjacent because he has like tolerance for like some level of tolerance for like gay and trans people, right? Like, which of course by right-wing standards means you are the wokest trantifa. You're trans antifa. You're basically transgender yourself if you think that like trans people shouldn't be killed, right? So like from their assessment, they just keep trying to angle this as like you know, this is wokeness. This is wokeness unfolding. But in reality, just, you know, a political centrist overall conservative family, basically on his journey of I guess radicalizing towards feeling empathetic to other people.
ABC News at the time would like to know, how does this possibly interface with any federal charges?
So
that's up to the feds. They have different charges, and they're reviewing the evidence.
Steven Crowder said he was in the ACP Discord.
The evidence and the law, they could file charges, but I'm not
okay,
privy to
dude.
exactly what they're looking at.
I know the ACP boys love LARPing. Okay, they're big LARPs. They love LARPing, but that's such a funny thing to fucking like ACP. I don't think has motion like that.
Question.
ACP wiped their Discord. Everybody wipes their Discord, dumbass. I wipe my Discord all the time too. They get raided. Everybody gets raided. Hate raided by fucking groypers and neo-Nazis and shit. ACP's 11-person Discord. That'd be crazy.
And is he cooperating since he's been taken into custody?
Ultimately, a judge will determine that at trial.
And cooperation, has he spoken at all? Has he been cooperating?
Again, I'm not going to comment on that.
Has he made any statements at
ACP is
all?
the American Communist Party. I'm not even going to get into it right now. Okay,
The suspect's time online that some say radicalized him.
I am not aware of that information. That's, again, still under investigation.
And has he expressed any remorse so far about this attack?
I am not going to comment on that.
Is he continuing to not cooperate?
I am not going to comment on that.
Mr. Gray, the FBI director has been way out in front in terms of presenting evidence to the public. Your team has been very circumspect, very measured in what they've laid out. Has that hampered your investigation and the build-up to this?
Well, as attorneys, we typically like to control that information to preserve an impartial jury and a fair trial.
Also, yeah, ACP is not exactly known for being pro-trans.
Excuse me? I don't have that information.
Which is pretty funny. They're MAGA communists, buddy.
What the family said is what I provided.
Mr. Gray, do you anticipate that the defense will try to get this trial moved out of Utah County, and how will you respond to that?
I'm gonna do the fucking the Ken Liegenstein post in a second to develop a better psychographic profile of the shooter, the alleged shooter. Right wingers love to have relationship with trans women. What are you talking about? Yo, I never said that they don't.
More than coincidence?
That will be for a jury to decide.
Mr. Gray, are you confident that the roommate had no part of this attack whatsoever?
Again, I'm not going to comment on the evidence.
But the evidence so far, does it show any involvement?
Again, I'm not going to comment on other than the facts that or the evidence that we've gathered so far.
Does the mention of the DNA here in the press conference jeopardize his right to a fair trial?
I don't believe so. This is part of a public document that we have to file as we file a criminal information. We have to file a probable cause statement. That's a public document, and so we're comfortable with that.
Are his parents and the roommates still cooperating?
I'm not going to comment on that either.
The FBI has said that this suspect had a hatred of Kirk. What else can you share about that?
I can't share any more than what I've already said.
This was an incredibly precise shot. Do you have any evidence that he went places to practice or have tracked his movements before the shooting that's given you insight into how he prepared?
The evidence that I'm willing to share is what I just read in our statement, and it's in the
Gentlemen, I'm
information.
afraid we're going to have to cut it off there.
Okay.
Did you consult Eric and Kirk about seeking the death penalty?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
There you have it, Jeff Gray, Utah County.
Bro. Did we learn anything new here? Like the preliminary investigation, like the only thing that we learned is the secret messages between him and the roommate, right? Masa pulled the mic. Okay, calm down. And it feels like they basically admitted that the roommate had no idea what was going on. This dude just kind of did it on his own, and then basically revealed to the roommate who was cooperating with law enforcement, by the way. And he called the roommate love, as it my love, and that probably implies that they are in a relationship, right? Family says he leans left, but once again, that assessment implies, and I don't have any reason to believe that that's not true. Okay. I'm just simply stating when a MAGA conservative in Utah says you lean left or you're becoming a leftist, you're like radicalizing or whatever, they just mean you don't think gay people should be killed. Okay. Remember, they were like, Charlie Kirk is a wonderful moderate. Charlie Kirk is on the record being like, the Bible says gay people should be stoned to death. So like, obviously from that assessment, if you think like Charlie Kirk is a moderate figurehead akin to like an MLK style person, then yeah, you're going to think this guy who tells you like, maybe we shouldn't actually kill trans people and gay people. They are our friends and it's okay. Like they're going to look at that and be like, this is the wokest person on the planet. This person is basically a fucking communist socialist transgender now. Okay. He literally said he can't comment on anything. How are you going to go out there and present what you call evidence and claim as fact, but then pretend you can't comment further and literally say anything? Tyler Robinson was the voter that Kamala Harris targeted with a Liz Cheney endorsement. Yeah, low key, Tyler Robinson, at least like the politics that they have demonstrated, with the exception of like dating a transgender person, because that I feel like is definitely, I wouldn't consider that to be like the normal position, like the normative position. Like that's not the overwhelming majority of Americans for sure. But beyond that, like, if you just look at his politics, from what we understand, from what we have seen, Hasan, they're all chasers. No, I know. There's a lot of people who like, there's a lot of people who are chasers and whatnot. That's not what I'm talking about, right? Like, but basically my point is his politics are all over the place in the sense that like he's just like apolitical for the most part, but also doesn't think like gay and trans people are evil, which is one of the most like, that's like half the fucking conservatives that are not online and they're not on Twitter. Like half the people that voted for Donald Trump, if you ask them like, do you think gay people are evil? They'd be like, I don't really care. You know what I mean? Not the 30% base that's like firmly committed to the movement, but like there's a lot of people who feel this way as well. This isn't to say that this guy wasn't fucking this guy wasn't someone who could be profiled as like lib left kind of like a lib left kind of person, right? But yeah, Ken Leakenstein exclusive leak message from Charlie Kirk assassin. Accused shooters politics is not what the government and media say. Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. Thus, Tyler Robinson messaged his friends on Discord, seemingly apologizing for murdering Charlie Kirk. I'm sorry for all of this. I obtained this and other Discord chats. I've decided to publish. The legacy news media, as usual, refuses, along with new information I've learned about Robinson from the people who knew him best. I just saw the video. Holy shit. RIP, I guess. Bro didn't deserve to go out like that. Sad. Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all this. I'm surrendering through a sheriff friend in a... Wait, what the fuck? Oh, usernames are redacted because I know what his username is. This is not what his username is. I have his Discord username. This is not it. Anyway, it's not Zealous Monkey 55095. He changed it. Okay. Ken changed it for this article. Wait, what? He's saying this is the username? Wait, what the fuck? He has multiple. I have 2 Discord usernames. This is not the one I had. Wait, I'm going to text him. Hold on. Server based. I know he had multiple usernames. There's another in the article. You had his username for Hoscord? I don't have, he wasn't in Hoscord, you fucking idiot. I'm texting Ken. Anyway. So Ken has one of the usernames, he says, and it's possible the New York Times is a different one, or all these other outlets have different usernames. Anyway, hey guys, I have bad news for y'all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all this. I'm surrendering through a sheriff friend in a few moments. Thanks for all the good times and laughs. You've all been so amazing. Thank you all for everything. Trump and company portray the alleged Utah shooter as left-wing, and liberals portray him as right-wing. The federal conclusion will inevitably be that he was a so-called nihilist violent extremist, NVE. Meanwhile, the crackdown has already begun. As I reported yesterday, the country's practically ready to go to war. It's been so terrible, and seeing it from an inside perspective is so frustrating. A friend of Robinson since middle school told me, the childhood friend who asked not to be named for fear of threats provided me with the above non-public photo of Robinson on a camping trip, a favorite activity of his, to corroborate their relationship. I think the main thing that's caused so much confusion is that he was always generally apolitical for the most part, the friend told me. That's the big thing. He just never really talked politics, which is why it's so frustrating. The picture that emerges bears little resemblance to the media version. Robinson, I am told, though quiet, was a well-liked person with a supportive family. The friend group who he interacted with on Discord, far from some kind of militia camp or Antifa bunker it's been portrayed as, represented a range of different political views, but mostly talked video games. Yesterday, FBI Director Kash Patel said in an interview that Robinson subscribed to left-wing ideology, citing his family's remarks to the investigators. But those close to Robinson say there was a lot his family didn't know about him. Their ideas are based on someone they didn't fully understand, the childhood friend told me. Though the family was generally supportive of Robinson, a claim corroborated by his mother's Facebook account, brimming with praise for Tyler, they didn't seem to know about his relationship with a transgender person named Lance, the friend said. When I asked if his family would have been accepting, the friend replied, I don't think even Tyler knew the answer to that question, which is why he kept it so low-key between themselves. Tyler's bisexuality, the friend said, was coupled with an openness on LGBT issues. But his wasn't some cookie-cutter lefty position on every other or even most issues, his friends say. Obviously, he's okay with gay and trans people having a right to exist, but also believes in the Second Amendment, the friend said, referring to the right to bear arms. The friend described, which again, that doesn't mean that this person is not like a leftist either, for the record. These kinds of things don't immediately reveal your position, okay? Just so you understand. The friend described Robinson as a fairly typical of a young man from his age from Utah, someone who loved the outdoors, was a gamer, and into guns. To all of us, he just seemed like a simple guy who liked playing games like Sea of Thieves, Deep Rock Galactic, and Helldivers 2, loved to fish and loved the camp, the friend said. It didn't really seem like that's all he was about. Helldivers 2, Into the Unjust Deep Dive, one step closer to finding the DRG dwarves. The phrase inscribed on one of the bullet cases from the shooting, "Hey Fascist Catch," though widely reported to mean he was a man of the left, is in fact a reference to the Helldivers 2 game. The three arrows, initially believed by federal agents to be a reference to Antifa, is also a reference to the Helldivers. Private Discord messages shared with me by a friend of Robinson's can confirm Robinson wasn't some political martyr. A search of posts for Robinson's containing keywords like Biden and Trump turned up with just one hit each. The Trump post was a passing reference to the 2019 impeachment inquiry. The Biden one came on a day after the 2020 election, where he provided an update to another friend asking about the status of the vote count. An impeachment inquiry has been placed against Donald Trump. He could get booted out if they find he committed the shit he's accused of. Who's winning the election? You would know, one of his friends asked Tyler Robinson. Biden is in the lead electoral votes wise, but there are still some swing states that haven't finished voting, as well as most of the West Coast. Raw votes, Donald is in the lead by a little over 1 million votes. Who is probably going to win? He says, I'm not sure. When will we know? Not until pretty late, but we should have a pretty good idea by the end of the night, unless it's really close or something. He says, K. The childhood friend is a member of multiple Discord chats with Robinson. He described the group as trying to grapple with Robinson's motive, just like everyone else. Even the goodbye message he sent in one of our servers where Discord chats were hosted was so hard to believe. We all just thought, what a weird joke to make. Then the news came out and we were all calling each other saying, check the news. He said, yeah, I don't know what makes a person like him decide he's going to drive 260 miles upstate to shoot someone like Charlie Kirk, then come back like nothing happened. It leaves a lot of room for speculation and theories, which is why I think they're so rampant. Part of the confusion he attributes to Tyler's quiet nature. He was a really smart guy, but super hard to read, stone cold poker face, and you could always never be confident assuming anything. When I asked if he opened up to anyone, the friend replied, as far as we knew, he was open. As far as we knew, he was opened up. What does that even mean? Despite his verbal reticence, Robinson was not a loner, according to his friends. Unlike the stereotypical outcast shooter driven to violence. Oh, they're saying he was opened up. Like that's all they knew. They thought they knew him. He was apparently amiable and well-liked. Everyone who knew him liked him. Remember when I said that even on a cursory glance of the shooter's like profile, he doesn't actually fit the bill in the same way that like Luigi Mangione doesn't fit the bill of stereotypical shooters demonstrating antisocial personality disordered behavior, loners, alienated, isolated from friends and family, sometimes finding themselves deep in the precipice of like online radicalization through like Discord servers all the way to Telegram and stuff like that. This guy straight up is just like as normal as you can be, which, by the way, I think this right here, the fact that this shooter is as normal as you can get, and someone who, as a matter of fact, had a bright future, as someone would say, right? That is unique when you look at the rest of the school shooters, mass shooters, people engaging in like any sort of violence like this. And I think that's reflective of the times changing. Like it's more so, yes, as the shadow says, an indictment on the state of affairs, right? Because you got weirdos doing violence. Obviously, there are things that we can legislate to try and limit the amount of ultra violence that we experience on a daily basis, but when you got like a radical, centrist, apolitical guy with a bright future ahead, all of a sudden when they're doing stuff like this, and if it's like even with Luigi as well, like people who are well-liked, people who have a social life, all of a sudden when that happens, like that is interesting. Anyway, regardless of the horrible actions that took place, we must take this moment to remember that God is a living and loving God who loves all his children. A Discord post from another friend posted the day after the shooting reads, while Charlie Kirk's politics were not acceptable to some, I ask that we all say a prayer for him and his family during these confusing times. Yeah, like if this was like an Antifa Discord server and the way that these guys were presenting it, they'd be like, fuck you. God isn't real. There'd be like 8 people in there yelling about how even you invoking the name of God triggers me because I'm an atheist. And then they would like all yell at the person and probably find a new, they'd be like, we need a new splinter Discord group away from these freaks. You know, I think this is a pattern with white cis shooters lately. Middle class experience hardship, realize it's affecting their marginalized friends most, and not being able to process it is the IRL version of just found out about racism. That shit sucks. I mean, there's not really any other evidence of this. This is the first of its kind. I wouldn't even say that this the same with like Luigi Mangione, because Luigi Mangione obviously was like impacted, harmed by healthcare, like the privatization of healthcare. He was impacted personally, and then that is the reason why he allegedly planned the shooting of UHC CEO Brian Thompson. Hey everyone, if you have not seen the news yet, Tyler's post above, it true. He was taken into custody earlier today for the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Regardless of the horrible actions that took place, we must take this moment to remember that God is a living and loving God who loves all his children. While Charlie Kirk's politics were not acceptable to some, I ask that we all say a prayer for him and his family during these confusing times. Love you all. God bless. The last message is religious in nature, which just goes to show the apolitical nature of the server. We all have pretty differing views on politics, the friend said, of the Discord post. We all just exist as friends and just play stuff. Cat memes, weather updates, home improvement, and the odd Garfield reference populate Robinson's post. I'm going to eep pretty soon. Very eepy, he said in one post. An intentionally silly misspelling of the word sleep, a common Gen Z convention. He was bedbug general, bedbug inspector. Another John Arbuckle appears. It says gullible on the ceiling. Cat memes. Screenshot of another Discord chat where Robinson went by the username bedbudge inspector. Spring in New Hampshire. Spring in southern Utah. Had to replace a monitor that was on a wall mount. The top 2 mounting points needed to have a standoff, but the person who did the initial install didn't have them, so they just stacked like 8 washers to make a connection, lol. I know the feeling. The federal government, the Washington crowd, and corporate media based in Washington and New York see the country in wholly partisan terms. Republican versus Democrat, red versus blue, old media versus social media, liberal versus conservative, right versus left, straight versus gay, and on and on. Charlie Kirk's assassination in Utah should remind us of the actual diversity of the nation. and of the cost of polarization that demonizes the other side. No one in Robinson's group is cheering or justifying the murder in any of the messages I reviewed. They're just struggling to understand what their friend did. But Washington has become obsessed with the Discord chat, convinced it's some kind of headquarters for the murder and cauldron of radicalization and conspiracy. Today, FBI Director Patel vowed to investigate anyone and everyone in that Discord chat. Yeah, this is also another unfortunate byproduct of having like extremely offline boomers or online boomers that are online in the worst ways possible because they like their only understanding is like Facebook posts or whatever. Trying to investigate this and trying to find like why this took place, right? And they obviously are completely unequipped to do so. And therefore, like, it's crazy how mild this dude's Discord profile is. Okay? It is insane. I cannot comprehend it. Like, unless he was living a double life as like some kind of political radical, like the act that he took, the act that he engaged in is so radical that when you look at his fucking Discord profile, it gives me whiplash. Like, this is the most like normal fucking guy that did such an abnormal thing. What I see is a bunch of young people shocked, horrified, and searching for answers like the rest of the country. Yeah, remember what I talked about with like spontaneous murder, the stabbing that took place on the subway against the Ukrainian refugee. Like, that's a really terrifying thing for a lot of people because, like, it's truly, utterly senseless. It doesn't have any sort of, like, logical reasoning behind it. Like, there's no logical through line, right? This is not a justification of that, obviously. But there's no logical through line to the actions of the killer in that situation. So, like, it terrifies people because it's truly and utterly unpredictable. And therefore, there's not even any sort of, like there's no security standard that you can apply in that circumstance. And this kind of feels like that in the way that, like, if there was at least some sort of like logical through line here with respect to this person's actions, like, or his radicalization, there's at least something you can point to about where, like, how he arrived at this position, right? How he arrived at this position. But there is nothing, it seems, at least from what we have seen from his profile, that indicates that. If you want the new messages in writing, they show it at page 8 on the indictment. Yeah, we'll take a look at the indictment. Obviously, this is what we wanted to see. Notices bulge ovo. That's the letters on the casings. The roommate. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting and provided those messages to police. I suspect that, I mean, this is the girlfriend who is trans. That's the reason why they're saying a biological male. This is also another one of those problems with like not correctly classifying things for political purposes that make it a little bit confusing. So you have to like read between the lines, I assume. What's the evidence this person is trans? Other people have stated this. Like, they look through the person's Reddit profile. Like, they were in a lot of DIY HRT subreddits, things of that nature. Like, things that you wouldn't. I don't think things you would do unless you were. Not some people are saying. Okay, it's. Before the roommate segment, they talked about how his family confronted him. Yeah. Look, here. Robinson's mother stated the following to the police. On September 11th, the day after the shooting, Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought the shooter looked like her son. Robinson's mother called her son and asked him where he was. He said he was home. He was at home sick, and that he had also been at home sick on September 10th. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her father. The suspected shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed. Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members. So, like, one thing you have to understand is, like, put yourself in the mindset of, like, a Mormon mom in fucking Utah, okay? When you, from their perspective, like, Tyler Robinson became woke. Okay, all of a sudden they think like he got radicalized into being woke, which is again like a fairly normal position to be like, yeah, I don't, I think it's fine. I'm pro gay and pro trans rights. Like it doesn't matter to me. It's not that big of a fucking deal. So that is like the reason why that's being presented as woke is because the right want to make the most normal position that one can have, which is to not just like have unlimited hatred in your heart for trans and gay people. They want to present that as like a woke position. It's not a woke position. It's just like a normal position. That's it. Like there's not. Anyway, of course, for a Mormon MAGA family, probably not, right? How is having sex with a trans girl not woke? I mean, it's like asking me, how is having sex with a black girl not woke? Okay. Depending on which family you're talking about, they could consider that to be woke. Okay. That's my point. Do you not understand? Also, there are mad chasers that are right wing as well. Alex Jones is a fucking chaser. Nick Fuentes is a chaser. What are we talking about? There's hella fucking right wing people that are chasers too. So it doesn't even like give you a consistent ideological profile in that regard. Also, this is Gen Z. Mad Gen Z is gay, bisexual, pansexual, whatever the fuck, okay? So from that standard, even the most right-wing motherfuckers on the Gen Z side are woke, okay? But they're not. This goes back to the insane standard that I was applying here, though, okay? Yeah, I get called woke for dating a white person as a Muslim, Lamau. Nick isn't a chaser. He's just gay. Sorry, I fucked it up. He's not a chaser. He just into cat boys and went on a date with a cat boy because he's gay. Yeah. Now it's woke to fuck a woman. We may now fuck men. Exactly. It's woke, dude. It's woke. How are you gonna... Ew, dude. You're gonna fuck a pussy? Gross. You're gonna... What? Be around a woman? That is woke, dog. Real men fuck men. Anyway, yeah, that's gay as hell to have sex with a woman. Yuck. Gross. Be a real man. Fuck men only. All right. Anyway, where were we? Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be, pro-gay, dated. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. Now, this doesn't make a lot of sense because, like, it seems like Tyler Robinson was also sheltering their family from this information. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle the police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle. However, Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson, and Robinson implied that he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home. As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there's too much evil and the guy Charlie Kirk spreads too much hate. They talked about Robinson turning himself in and convinced Robinson to speak with a family friend who was a retired deputy sheriff. At Robinson's father's request, the family friend met with Robinson and his parents and convinced Robinson to turn himself in. The family friend spoke to police and reported telling Robinson that it would be best if he brought all the evidence with him to the sheriff's office to avoid police having to search his parents' home. The family friend also asked Robinson if he had any clothes that were related to what he did. Robinson replied that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas. So then we get into the roommate, but the parents' suspicion is that the roommate is trans, right? Which still... which of course corresponds to like all of the assessments made by other people about the roommate's Reddit profile, which was definitely the profile of someone who was in the process of engaging in gender confirmation, transitioning, right? DIY HRT subreddits, things of that nature, from what I understand, according to Liv Agar's assessment. So then we get to the roommate. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male, a trans a trans woman, who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting and provided those messages to the police. On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you are doing, look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I'm going to take it." Police found a photograph of this note. Oh, that's how they found the note. So that's not even a fucking manifesto. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right? I'm still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I'm sorry to involve you. You weren't the one who did it, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from the drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Why? Why did I do it? Yeah, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they've moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. How long have you been planning this? A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there's a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't even know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the fuck will I explain it, losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The fucking messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge uvu on Fox News, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm going to have to leave it. That really fucking sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I don't know. I think that was a $2,000 scope. Robinson, delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me right now, not answering. Since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. You are all I worry about, love. I'm much more worried about you, says the roommate. Don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. Bro assassinated Charlie Kirk, but was still scared of what his dad has to say. Yeah, I mean, exactly. That gives you a little bit of the mindset of this person who like that in and of itself kind of feels like this dude is not this radical Antifa fucking super soldier type shit. You know what I mean? He didn't think it all the way through in a way. Bro, he literally fucking... clear, dude, he has no OPSEC whatsoever. All of this obviously is like zero OPSEC. Not only that, but he planned it in a week, which sounds insane. Like in 1 week, he was like, oh shit, Charlie Kirk's coming to my neighborhood. That's terrifying. Low key. Not even low key. That is high key terrifying that like someone could just like find out that a public speaker who is a political commentator is coming to your neighborhood, and it takes 1 week for them to basically decide, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna plan it out and basically almost get away with it too. Like, it's crazy. I guess it was also understandable that he was afraid of his dad, because the reality of the matter is the gun, if he had actually gotten the gun, he could have probably told his dad, like, oh no, I have the gun right here. You know what I mean? So considering that his family turned him in, he wasn't wrong to be worried about that part. It wasn't even his neighborhood. It was like 200 plus miles away. I know. But like their state. From my perspective, I will say this much. I do a lot of events. I'm outside all the time. I'm around other people all the time. I'm in public all the time. I go to fucking chaotic situations. I go to fucking rallies and shit. And the only time where I feel a sense of danger is when I'm in like red states. The only time I've had like any fucked interactions while doing like IRL streams, for example, have been in red states, whether it be Nevada or whether it be Texas, even in blue areas in red states, right? Because of that reason, people do drive hundreds of miles to do like fuck shit. Right? Count 6 is him telling his roommate to listen to her rights and ask for a lawyer. Yeah. So his prefrontal cortex won't be fully developed for 2 more years. Planning, decision-making, self-awareness, risk assessment. The people in blue states are too high to be driving that far for anything. I mean, it can happen anywhere. It can happen anywhere. I'm just like, I'm looking at a game of chance here, okay? Witness tampering pertains to Robinson's statement to his roommate, telling the roommate, if any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. I don't know if that's technically witness tampering. Deleting the text message exchange is witness tampering, but saying stay silent and you know, call a lawyer, that's not witness. Is that witness tampering? The deletion of the text message, like the demands for deletion of the text message does make sense as witness tampering. That is absolutely witness tampering. But yeah, it's interesting because when you look at the charges and you look at all the evidence that has been presented thus far, I don't know how the fucking right-wingers are going to operate here, but like the trans person is like low-key a hero in this story, like one of the good people in this story, even from the right-wing assessment, right? So that hasn't stopped people from obviously saying like this is Trantifa, but so he wasn't a groyper. I told you I don't think that it was too early to make an assessment. I mean, you could still be like a lover with a trans person and be groyper, but like there isn't enough here to suggest that he's a groyper. Okay, that's why I told you, like, it's important to make honest assessments no matter what, even if it's like, even if there's a prevailing narrative. And I think for a lot of people, it won't even matter. I think for a lot of people, they will go along with, depending on their partisan framework here, depending on what they were, what they were predisposed to believe. You have no idea if the boyfriend was involved or not, Lamau. Wait, what? The boyfriend? You mean the trans girlfriend? I mean, the evidence that we just read shows that not only was this person cooperating with law enforcement, but like the evidence itself that they have on hand shows that they were not fucking involved. I love this guy, man. I love conservatives. This is what I mean. This is what I mean. This is what I fucking mean. Dudes will just be like, nah, it can't be the white boy that did it. Must have been the trans person. Must have been the trans person somehow. You know, yeah, but the left does the same thing. What do you mean? Guys, stop doing vague posting. Just say what you fucking mean, please, okay? It's okay. You can say what you mean, even if it's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Trust me, there are plenty of stupid things that people say in this chat, okay? Sorry, but I don't believe their evidence. Okay, fine, fair. ACP? Was he an ACP member, Jackson, Hinkle, and Haas? No, I don't think he was an ACP member. I don't think this dude is even like anything but, this dude didn't even vote for the Democrats, man. The fuck are we talking about? He's not like it shouldn't be that hard for men. Oh, God. If you're in this community, I understand why. If you're in this community, I understand why it's so difficult for you to, what is this? Okay. It's hard for you to comprehend if you're in a fucking highly politicized community such as this one, for you to go, there is no way this person has like no decipherable political tendency, no ideological tendency, no ideological leaning. I know, okay? I understand that because you are insanely political. But what you have to realize is the overwhelming majority of people in this country do not have the same kind of perspective that you do, okay? They don't know anything. They don't care about anything. There is nothing that's like decipherable from the perspective of like political radicalization, even though what he did is unique in the sense that you would expect the ideological profile to be very clear. It genuinely seems like this dude was just a bisexual, chronically online politics normie who decided to do the unthinkable after figuring out that the figurehead for anti-LGBT was coming to his state. Yes, but even from that perspective, like it still doesn't make sense because the final act here is the act that you would expect from someone who is a radical, right? So one must ask the question, how we got to a position where like an apolitical dude who's just a gamer who like traffics in memes and whatnot could do such a radical act, like take someone's life, right? And that's the reason why I said, judging by what I knew at the time when I wrote the New York Times op-ed, looking at the shooter's profile, where I clearly stated to all of you, and many people in this community fucking got mad at me as well, that this doesn't have the makings of like a hyper radicalized, groiper or anything like that when those narratives were being flung around. The reason why I said that is because I know the profile, shooter profiles of people that get radicalized in different parts of the internet. I know the profile of someone who could potentially be a left-wing shooter and what they would do and what they would say in this process. Okay? This is why my initial assessment was one that stated, look, as I said, Tyler Robinson Kirk's alleged shooter came from a Mormon family, both law enforcement and military, but I'm not so certain if he himself was right-wing. A lot of memes posted on casings are ironic or of the left variety, different than previous far-right shooters. It's too soon to tell, but this is very important to understand as well. We're talking about like the Groiper angle. Feel like you don't do this unless you're in some right-wing nihilistic brain-rotted spaces. Yeah, I saw that as well. He was talking about like the Gopnik posting. I don't know how to weigh that over the Ciao Bella, though. Like, that could be Gopnik posting, which is across the political spectrum. Need more info. Groipers usually hail previous shooters and have way more aggressive slogans they use to signal. Are you saying that a normal guy just did it? That's terrifying. Yeah, no. Yes. What is Gopnik posting? Like, he was doing a Slav squat. And it's not even a normal guy that did it. Okay? It's not even a normal guy that did it. It's... What's normal about him? It's good stock in the way that conservatives would say. This person comes from a close family, has relationships with people, is not alienated, is not isolated, has not demonstrated antisocial personality disorders, okay? Is in constant contact with other people. 4.0 GPA, Mormon family, okay? That is the reason why a lot of right-wingers, when they saw that background, immediately went, oh, shit. This doesn't fucking fit the profile of, like, anything that we've seen. Oppressive conservative family plus gun culture plus nihilistic on the value of life. Yeah, it's like, it feels like it's like a situation where, like, you shoot a high-profile conservative public speaker because you're fucking bored. You know what I mean? I don't even think he did it for the memes necessarily. I understand why all of the law enforcement, regardless of their fucking biases, regardless of the fact that they're trying to present this as like a clear-cut indication, a clear-cut instance of like, Antifa-style radicalized violence or anything. But like when you look at the background, the evidence that we have so far of the shooter's background, it does make sense as to why one could look at that and say he is like quote unquote woke or of the lib left variety. And the reason why I say that is because depending on how biased you are, depending on how right wing you are, depending on like from the perspective of a Utah Mormon family, yes, like if you have a trans roommate that you're romantically involved in, that's the most woke you can be. There's the most woke person on the planet from their perspective. Some hate cannot be negotiated will absolutely be used to demonize trans ideology. I mean, I think that's a constant no matter what. And yes, I did go through Ken Klippenstein's profile. Thoughts on him being maybe one of those nihilist accelerationism guys? No, I don't think so. No. I told you that, like, not a groiper, not super radical, which is so crazy to say because the act in and of itself is radical. But the reason why I say it doesn't seem like that is because those guys can't shut the fuck up about their politics, both on the left and the right, okay? Some of you on the left are in here. You can never stop talking about how you're actually a Maoist third worldist and everyone is actually a part of the fucking imperial core, America, using Maoist standard English. And on the right, it's even more fucking annoying. If you're like of the far right tendency, You literally will never shut the fuck up. Look at the Minneapolis shooter that went into the church. Everyone was like, that's a trans Antifa person. Fuck no, he wasn't. You want to know why I know he wasn't a fucking trans Antifa person? He had hung out with like the AK guy on YouTube. He literally fucking wrote high profile far right figures' names on his gear. Like, he was very clearly a nihilist, accelerationist, esoteric, neo-Nazi style shooter, many of which exist in society, many of which have actually engaged in fucking acts of ultra violence over and over and over again. Doesn't matter if the media fucking claims that they're actually leftists or whatever, right? Same with the recent Colorado shooter that actually shot up his school, literally as Charlie Kirk had been shot at Utah. How is this a radical act? He is at best a lib. Sorry, I'm just confused by the terminology. The reason why I say it's a radical act is because killing someone is a radical act, okay? Devoid of political background. It's just you shoot someone and you kill someone. That's a radical fucking act. What do you mean? He shot someone, one shot, straight to the cartord, like straight to the fucking neck. That's as radical as it's going to get, okay? It doesn't get more radical than that. It's a high-profile political assassination. It's more personal than political, like Luigi, an intelligent normie. His description is almost Sigma from his friends with a single cause after falling in love with his roommate. Labels don't do the investigation any good. Sorry for the politics frogs. Yeah, I mean, why does his ideology matter? Even if he's a principled leftist, it doesn't justify national crackdown of the left? Of course not. Of course not. Of course it doesn't fucking justify that. Stop trying to be specific anatomically. Okay, shut up. I always say it wrong. It's carotid, right? Carotid artery. Carotid. Carotid. Carotid artery. English is my second language. Shut the fuck up. Carotid. Anyway, whatever. That doesn't matter. Let's get back to it. Charlie Kirk suspect appeared to confess the murder on Discord, sources say. Here's the
developments
additional
in the
reporting
investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination. CBS News has confirmed a Washington Post report that the suspect, Tyler Robinson, appeared to confess in an online group chat just before his arrest. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance stepped in to host an episode of Kirk's podcast, urging Trump supporters to report and call out anyone celebrating Kirk's death. Carter Evans is covering all this from the courthouse in Utah. Carter, good morning.
Good morning, Tony. The alleged shooter is expected to make a virtual appearance in court from jail when those charges are filed today. And as a possible preview of what's to come, a probable cause affidavit listed aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, and obstruction of justice as reasons for his arrest last week.
There was evidence, DNA evidence.
FBI Director Kash Patel said Monday DNA evidence found on a screwdriver at the scene of the shooting and on a towel wrapped around the alleged murder weapon had now been linked to the suspect. Patel added his agency is reviewing the alleged gunman's online activity and cell phone data.
He had a text message exchange, he the suspect, with another individual, in which he claimed that he had an opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and he was going to do it because of his hatred for what Charlie stood for.
Why didn't that person say something?
I think you were saying that there's no evidence that the shooter is woke unless you can see that being pro-gay is woke. Yes. And that is the case for many people on the right, especially in this administration, because this administration is so fucking brain broken that they think like Mitt Romney is a pussy. You know what I mean? Like the modern Republican movement, or at least like the National Republican Party, and the way that they communicate certain issues implies that like if you're fucking pro-gay or pro-trans, you are woke. You are literally Antifa. You're trans Antifa. You're Trantifa. Okay? That's the way they see it. That's precisely the reason why they're designing this as a story about left radicalization. A story about left radicalization and a shooter engaging in this like incredibly leftist act of super violence. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah, trends de Antifa, like Trendaragua.
Our investigation is ongoing. That's a great question.
A Discord spokesman and 2 law enforcement sources told CBS News an account appearing to belong to the suspect claimed responsibility for the shooting in a group chat around 2 hours before his arrest last Thursday. writing in part, quote, "It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all this." The messages were first reported by the Washington Post. Discord has said it hasn't found any evidence that the suspect planned Kirk's assassination on the platform. While no motive has been identified, the